Okay, so believe it or not, we are going to go through with the surgery tomorrow. We're going to go through with the surgery tomorrow. Our precious little girl here is ready to go. As you can see, she's healthy, strong, and in a way that makes this decision very difficult because it's just absolutely dreadful to take a dog who's this active, this healthy, this perfect into surgery. But at the same time, we have to accept the harsh reality that there is a confirmed tumor, or at least a mass, that was verified via CT scan, and the fine needle aspiration seems to indicate that there's a suspicious, that the mass is suspicious. It's obviously a very unpleasant thing to take a dog into surgery. I'm always very concerned about anesthesia. It's a very unpleasant thing to have your dog going into surgery. That's just a reality no matter what. For me, it's especially poignant because a couple of very sad stories that have happened with veterinary medicine in my personal history. It was a long time ago. We've been reassured that things have changed since then, that anesthesia is much safer for dogs. But nevertheless, I think it's one of those things that's a little hard to escape. And it's especially difficult when you have this kind of situation here where she is absolutely fine. She's doing great. As you can see, she's completely active. She's in perfect health. She's very, very strong, very healthy. But at the same time, we do have to accept the reality that there is a mass that was confirmed by CT. Fine needle aspiration indicates that the cells are suspicious and that it is cancerous. That being said, we technically have not gotten anything beyond a very, very high likelihood that it is cancer, but it's not confirmed yet. So given the situation, all the veterinarians that we've consulted with have suggested to proceed with essentially a full surgery to remove the mass and to have a wide margin, assuming that it is in fact cancer. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hey, you're gonna need this guy when you get back. Let's keep him alive, huh? Let's keep him alive. Okay, what about this? There you go, what about this? And so we have some slight doubts about proceeding with this. Like I said, she's perfectly fine. When we go into surgery, there's always a risk, and that's a very frightening risk, but at the same time, we have to be rational, and there's a good chance that the mass is cancerous, in which case this has to be done. There's no way to tell. We'll find out the exact nature of this tumor after the surgery, well, probably about a week after the surgery, when this is biopsied and sent off to a lab. We'll find out exactly what type of soft tissue sarcoma this is. We're certainly hoping that it is not the worst case scenario, which is the hemangiosarcoma, which is a terrible cancer that has a very poor prognosis. That is what the CT scan indicated as one possibility out of two. We've had one oncologist speculate that it is a common soft tissue sarcoma. We had another veterinarian speculate that it is a muscle-based soft tissue sarcoma, and then the fine needle aspiration had listed as a likely culprit a liposarcoma. So basically, we got 5 different opinions on what kind of tumor this is. So it's obviously, disturbing to go into surgery. We had a few options for this surgery. The oncologist was suggesting to go aggressive, to remove the mass, take a really wide margin, and unfortunately, because of the location, it's actually on the other side here, but you can see on the side, the shoulder blade is right here, and the mass is kind of disguised right behind there, and that is part of the reason why unfortunately I did not detect it until quite recently. At the very beginning of this month is when I first detected this. Even now, I sometimes have a hard time finding exactly where that spot is, simply because it is fairly disguised, insofar as when she's lying down like this, you can, this angle here, it's possible to kind of detect exactly where it is. Okay, I can feel it. But there's other times when she's curled inward, it's really almost impossible to feel it. It's something that changes based on the position. So initially for about a week, and I'm obviously very disappointed that I didn't react sooner. As soon as there was any suspicion, I should have jumped on it. But for the first week, I thought, oh, that's strange. Is that something suspicious? But then she would change position. I think, oh, maybe it's just an anatomical difference, and it seems to change because on the other side, it's the same thing. In this position here, this muscle feels very solid. It's very hard, and it feels like, okay, this could be like that. But eventually, after I kept checking repeatedly, I did confirm that, okay, this is strange. There's something there. So we went in, did the fine needle aspiration, and it seems like everything kept getting worse and worse from there. At first, we're hoping that there's nothing there, but right away the veterinarian said, this is worrisome. We're going to send it off to the lab. The lab came back and confirmed that this looked like cancer. We did the CT scan. It confirmed that there was in fact a tumor, and it was fairly large, about let me see here, about 1.5 inches by about 3/4 of an inch, which doesn't seem that big, but for this little dog, obviously it is. For a French Bulldog, she's only about 10 kilograms, so that's a pretty big one. And I'd like to take a moment here while we're on this topic to remind anybody that's watching this to be very careful when you're screening your dog for potential tumors. It's relatively easy when you're checking, for example, on the body, for instance, on the ribs, the limbs, it stands out. I strongly recommend that you check the crevices very carefully, where the muscles change, depending on if the dog is lying down, standing up, if the head is down, if the head is up. Those muscles really change the feel of this area. So I strongly recommend you check around these bones and muscles here, this shoulder blade, behind it, kind of in between there. Really check around. That could be a real nasty, stealthy tumor that's hidden in there. And so please be careful with that. So ultimately we settled on a surgical approach that is going to basically take a middle ground. The oncologist that we spoke to, as I said, wanted to go hard, the way they said it. Just hit this tumor hard from the start, get the widest possible excision, shave off at least a part of the shoulder blade where the cancer may have spread, take out a couple of the lymph nodes in the area. And this is a very difficult thing. It's a very difficult decision to make. Obviously, the part of us that wants to do everything we can to save her life and cure her of this cancer would certainly support that approach. On the other hand, there's of course the other extreme, which is to do nothing and hope that it's not a particularly aggressive tumor and just I don't want to say let nature take its course, but just let the process go and at least just, wait and see, or possibly just hope that it's a tumor that's not particularly invasive or aggressive. There are some cases that I know personally of dogs that, a couple years later, it had become quite sizable, the mass, but they're still alive, and other than being inconvenienced, they're still healthy and doing all right. That might have been an option if she had been a little bit older. The problem here is that she's only 7.5, and it's very difficult to accept the thought that, okay, a couple years sounds good, but okay, that she would still be only 9 years old. That's just too young. So we kind of settled on the middle ground approach, which is to remove the tumor, remove as much of a margin as is reasonable without putting any undue or without putting any excessive physical strain on her. I was very concerned about a very heavy-duty surgery, like removing lymph nodes, removing bone, removing a wide margin. We're talking about a pretty risky procedure, and frankly, the recovery time would be quite excessive. And this gets into issues about what's right for a dog. How much are you willing to put them through to try to save their lives? And for me, selfishly, yes, of course, I would do anything to save her life, but I also have to try to think like a dog, and what she would experience would be quite horrific. So I did not want her to suffer extensively for this procedure. So we're going to take it one step at a time. We're going to do this moderate procedure. We're going to get a result from the biopsy, and then we'll reassess. Obviously, if it's a severely aggressive cancer like hemangiosarcoma, then that's going to be very different than, say, a cancer that is a much more slow-growing, very low risk of metastasis type of cancer. We'll have to decide exactly how to proceed after that. So that's what's going to happen. So everything this week has gone quite well. We had some preparations to make, obviously, for the surgery, and we tried to take, again, a balanced approach. Wait, get back on camera. Everybody wants to see you. we tried to take a balanced approach for this surgery, which is we want to prepare her. We want to make sure that she's healthy and ready to go for surgery, but we don't want any doom and gloom either. So we tried to do some fun things. We've been making sure to take her out every day, although it is ridiculously hot. That's one thing that does really bother me about this surgery. I mean, the surgery is it's just an unpleasant thought no matter what. But it had to take place during the hottest time of the year here in Japan. I mean, literally, this is record-breaking heat in the region. We're talking basically around 40 degrees Celsius. And unfortunately, she's very sensitive to heat. As you can see in some of the other videos, she pants very easily. She's overwhelmed with the heat. And for French Bulldogs in particular, surgery can be very dangerous. They tend to struggle with their breathing naturally. And so during surgery, that adds to the risk. And it's a really unpleasant thing that this had to take place now of all times. And it goes back to what I was saying earlier about me not discovering this tumor sooner. If I'd reacted quickly, if I'd noticed it in June, for example, we may be done already, and at least she could have done the surgery when it was warm, but not during record-breaking heat. So it's obviously disappointing that she has to do this now, but hopefully everything is going to be okay. We're trying to be careful, keeping her calm. As I said, we've been doing some fun activities. You can check a couple of the videos. We took her to the pet store last week, something that we hadn't done before. We finally decided to do. We've been taking her out every day in her CART. I'm not going to say that word because she'll get all riled up. We've been taking her out every day, but it's really hot, so it's been kind of late in the evenings. But we're making sure that we have some good times. And, you know, part of the reason for that, honestly, is I have to admit, it's just in case. I have to think about that possibility. Surgery is dangerous and I fear it greatly, and so just in case, I want to make sure that she's living her life to the fullest. And that being said, now the night before surgery is a very boring night. This is as much activity as she's going to get. We're trying to strike a balance. As I said, the night before she needs to rest, make sure she has her strength. We're going to follow all the guidelines. In our case, she has to be done eating by 11 p.m. So we're probably going to aim for 10:30 to be extra safe. Got to get up extra early. Give her special medication at 8 in the morning that helps deal with nausea. She tends to be a little sensitive to the nausea. So we're going to give her that. And then we take her in. She's got to meet with the doctor at 9 in the morning. And that's when we check her in. And that's that. And then we just go home and stress out. No, I'm kidding to a certain extent, but also telling the truth to a certain extent. We'll go home. We have the big guy here that we got to take care of. So we'll be taking care of him, feeding him, and we'll be kind of just waiting by the phone to get that phone call in the afternoon that says she's out of surgery and recovering, and then we can finally breathe a huge sigh of relief. And then we have the long wait of approximately 1 week for the biopsy results, and that'll be a different kind of concern. But one step at a time. Right now, we just want to make sure that she gets through the surgery. So ultimately, I think we've done all that we can. As I said, we've had, I think, a very good week. We've been active, doing things, having fun, and she's been playing with her toys, staying fully active and engaged. Tonight, we take it easy. We rest, feed her early, get a good night rest, do the surgery, and hopefully we'll be posting a very positive update very soon. It's going to be one of the happier videos that I record, and so I'll be pretty quick to post, even a very short update, even just a shorts. I'll make sure to post very quickly the result of that, and we're hoping some very good news. And then I'll be posting some regular updates about the recovery process. So I think that just about does it. I think it's time to take this pup back to the living room, and we'll get her ready to eat her meal and on schedule for surgery. Oh, there you go. You want to say bye-bye? Hey, okay. You ready for surgery? Ready to do this? I know, that's not fun. I know. Nobody wants to do it. I'm sorry you got to do this. I know. Not fair. Huh? Life's not fair. But we got the same surgeon that we've used before for both of our dogs. And this is the same clinic where she's done basically every major procedure. She's actually undergone anesthesia 3 times now. She did it for a CT scan. She did it for her hysterectomy. And then she did it yet again for another CT scan just last week for this particular tumor. So we're in good hands, I think. So I think we're ready to go. So let's go ahead and wrap up, okay? Let's go ahead and wrap up. So we'll post the update very soon for everybody. We'll let you know that the surgery went okay, and we'll let you know in about a week the results of that biopsy. So I think that does it. Let's wrap up here, okay? Let's wrap up. Okay, so that's it. Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. All right. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. That's a good doggy. That's a good doggy, right? Okay. Oh yes. Okay. Thank you. Okay, let's go. You want to eat soon? Okay, let's go eat soon, okay? All right, so that does it for this update. We'll post the result tomorrow, so stay tuned. And of course, I hope you'll send some positive energy our way. Wish her well, wish her a successful surgery, and a quick return back home safe and sound. She will have a rough 1 week to 2 week recovery period, but once that's done, we get back to normal, okay? We'll get back to normal. We'll do some playing, some traveling. We'll do lots of fun stuff, all right? So hang in there. Thank you, everybody, for watching.